There's a false doctrine floating around that says if you are divorced, you have to remain single until your ex-spouse dies. That's completely false. People get that from misreading scripture. So, for example, in the book of Romans, chapter 7, Paul says that the law binds a wife to her husband until he dies. And after he dies, she's free to marry another person. So what people do is they take that scripture and they say, see there, you can't get remarried until your spouse dies. But they missed the entire context. The scriptures before that is talking about how we were bound to the law, but when Christ died, we died with Christ. And now because we died with Christ, we're free from the law and we can live with Christ. Paul was making an analogy, just like a wife is bound to her husband while he lives, but when the husband's died, she's free to marry somebody else. So because we died to the law through Christ, we're free to follow Christ and not the law. That's the point. Because if Paul was trying to make a doctrine that you can never get remarried until your spouse dies, he was using that in the context of the law. Even in the law, that wasn't the only case. In the law, you could divorce your wife and marry somebody else, and she could marry somebody else. And that process could go on indefinitely. So even he was talking about the law, that's not even the only case in the law. So when you take a single scripture out of the context of what this Bible is trying to teach through that particular point, you'll get a doctrine that will put you in bondage, like you can never get remarried until your ex-spouse dies.